Hey, what is going on, guys? DK. Back at you with another video here to bring the showdown slate between the Atlanta Hawks and the Milwaukee Bucks. Before I get into the video, if you guys are new to the channel, welcome. My name is DK. I make daily videos and live stream for NBA and NFL slates on Draftkings. Also starting to make videos again for PGA, daily fantasy sports, and I do make videos for NBA Top Shot. If you're unable to watch these videos, I also upload an Apple Podcast. Link down below. It's called the DKDFS Show. And if you're listening there, if you could leave a 5-star rating and a review, that would help me out a ton. Every single rating and review just boosts me up in those Apple Podcast rankings. If you're interested in signing up for premium content, I offer that at patreon.com, an esports package that includes Call of Duty and CSGO, as well as an NBA package. Now, the NBA package, if you sign up, you'll get those PGA golfer data sheets for free. And then, I haven't mentioned this, but I've been making content for the 2-game slate. So there's the Tuesday, Wednesday slate, and the Wednesday, Thursday slate, and the Thursday, Friday slate for NBA. Actually been going pretty well. So yeah, if you sign up for the NBA package, you'll get that as well as the the showdown breakdowns, roster construction, and player pools, and private live streams. So, and finally, I do want to thank PrizePicks for sponsoring this episode. Again, if you're not familiar with PrizePicks, there's a few different ways you can play. The first way is you take over/under on just fantasy points. So PrizePicks will post players and fantasy scores, and basically the idea is, do you like the under or do you the over? So Giannis Antetokounmpo projected for 59.5 fantasy points, under over. Pretty simple. You can mix and match sports. They do have basically every single sport you can think of. They have baseball, PGA, esports. Let's see. Are there any of these that kind of stick out to me? I would say these all feel about right, to be honest. Maybe a small lean to the over on Collins, but yeah, I think those are pretty accurate. And then you can also play single stat where you can take over under on flat out points, assists, rebounds, 3-pointers made. It's a fun change of pace if you guys want to try it out with NBA kind of winding down, because you're not playing against anyone, you're just playing against the house. So if you guys want to sign up, use the code DKDFS. DKDFS, all one word, link down below. You will get a 100% match up to $100. So if you deposit the maximum $100, you will get a free $100 to play with. And finally, I want to thank you guys again for all of your continued support. I know NBA has been winding down, but you guys are continuing to come out and check out the live streams. We're getting close to basically 200 viewers in the short showdown live stream. So again, cannot thank you guys enough. If you do enjoy all this content, if you could, leave a like button on the video, subscribe if you haven't already, and hit the notification bell so you don't upload videos and you don't go live. Planning to go live tomorrow, so make sure to check out the live stream, guys. And let's try to aim for 100 likes on this video. And NBA, even though NBA in general is kind of winding down, we do have more basketball coming up. We have the TBT tournament, which I'm guessing Draftkings will have. They had it last year. I'm going to have content for that. And then also the Summer League. 2 things I'm very, very excited for. So, yeah, let's, I guess before we talk about players and the prices for the showdown slate, we can look back mine up here from tonight's game. So tonight, I should have played Zubac. That was a mistake. And I played him in both the 2-day slates, but yeah, that was a mistake for me, not playing Zubac once he was starting. So kind of kicking myself for that one. Definitely should have played him. The issue was just kind of roster construction. But I got up to Zubac, and I was kind of left in the mid-range. I really didn't like any of those guys in the mid-range. Like Morris, Batum, Crowder, Bridges. I just didn't really want to play any of those guys. So, but what I should have done was, maybe gone with someone a little bit cheaper in the captain so I can got on from Rondo to Zubac. So I didn't really want to play Booker either. I didn't. Paul is the guy for me of the Suns guys, and just kind of what I ended up going with. But yeah, I think I made a mistake there not getting to Zubac. I got to give a special shout out to Patrick. Once again, almost had a takedown. I saw you, I think almost won $1,000, so congrats. I know you've been on a heater. But yeah, for me, the mistake I made was not playing Zubac. And I do think that was a mistake. Once he was starting, I should have pivoted to get him in. I guess I was a little bit hesitant. I wasn't certain he was still going to play big minutes, but it looks like the Clippers. And also, it's like we get the updated starting lineup like after lock. Come on. Like, obviously, if I knew Man was starting, I would have more interest there. So that was a little bit tilting. But, yeah, my core was Chris Paul, Paul George, Reggie, and Pat Beverly, which was solid. Just the other two fillers for me did not go well at all. I knew the risk was Rondo, right? I knew there was a chance that he could play limited minutes, but we've seen it all playoffs long where it's like some games he'll play 20-plus minutes, some games he'll barely play. This is a game where, again, I didn't watch this game, but I just saw from the stat line, he did not play well, right? 1 steal and 3 turnovers is not going to get done in 8 minutes. So, yeah, full disclosure, I made a mistake by not playing Zubac, but it is what it is, and the good thing about DFS is there's always another slate. So, let's talk about this showdown slate again. Hawks and Bucks, a 226 over under, the Bucks 7.5-point favorites. So, we'll start off with Atlanta, and we'll go to utility. Trae Young at 11.8. Well, I was hammering home how I thought he was going to be way under-owned because of that most recent game. I told people, hey, he should be close to ownership in Giannis, and he wasn't. He was only like 50% on last night. That was absolutely crazy. Now, the ownership is going to jump way up right after the last game, but it should. It should be up because if the Hawks keep this game competitive, it's going to be Trae Young, right? Rarely are you going to see a bad game from Trae, and the Hawks keep it competitive or even win like they did against Philly. So, yeah, I mean, last 5 games, 61, 56, 66, 75 fancy points, and then the one dud game where he just couldn't hit a shot. I mean, what? Let's go back to PrizePicks. What's Trae Young at? 51.5. I mean, if the Hawks keep this game competitive, I think he goes over. I think the way he goes under if the game's a blowout, which is possible, right? You have a 7.5-point spread, but yeah, I mean, I'm very high on Trae if he thinks this game stays competitive because I really think he needs to have a big game for the Hawks to stay in it. Now, with Collins and Capella, John Collins had a really good game. He went for a double-double, 23 and 15, 44 fantasy points. That's now 3 of the last 4 games he's gone for 40-plus fantasy points. With Bogdan really struggling with that knee injury, Collins has to step up and be the number 2 guy, and he has been. Now, there is still a floor with Collins. The floor is, we've seen a couple floor games. Well, plus foul issues. That's what I was trying to say. He's earlier on in the playoffs more. I think it was a couple games of the Knicks series where he got in some foul trouble. So that's where he can have a floor game. He also had, again, a floor game 3 games ago. But I do think he's got to be the number 2 guy. And I do have some interest in him in the mid-range. Now, Clint Capella at 7.8K, I mentioned, I was like, hey, he's been awful so far in the playoffs. But I said, this is a series. I think he could bounce back. And he bounced back in a big way, game 1. 12 points, 19 boards, 2 assists, 1 block, 1 steal, for 44 fantasy points. Now, I think Capella's going to play 35-ish minutes. Again, I like the matchup better here, so I think Capella is firmly in play too. Right? I've just been off in basically all playoffs, but I have more interest in him in this series. Now, Herter, the tricky part is just this price point, right? He's been very up and down. He's had a couple 40 bombs and then 23, 5, 17, another 5 mix in there. Do I want to pay 7.2 for Kevin Herter? Well, you can if you want to get contrarian. It's hard for me to get super excited about that price point. Same thing with Bogdanovich at 7K, right? That knee injury is really bothering him. He doesn't have like the lift off the ground. He's been really struggling shooting. Yes, he's going to be low owned. I just have a hard time getting to him. Gallinari at 5.6. Should get 25 to 30 minutes. Yeah, he had a bad game last game, but this is still a guy that can go out and get you 25 to 30 fantasy points. So fair filler play, but I'm still not in love with it. Cam Reddish, again, so they announced that he was going to be active, but behind Solomon Hill and Tony Snell in the rotation. So we'll monitor the news. If that is the case once again, then obviously he's not going to play. If we do get some sort of news that he's going to be back in the rotation, then sure, you can look to him as a contrarian play, but I don't think I'll be getting to Cam Reddish, even if we get that news. Now, Lou Williams at 2.2K, we know his role, right? 10 to 15 minutes off the bench. A guy that is normally a pretty good point-per-minute guy if he can hit some shots. Obviously a good scorer. The floor is still there, right? If he's not knocking down shots, 4, 3 fancy points. But we've also seen some double-digit fancy point games from Lou Williams. So definitely viable as a salary relief play. Now, what was interesting was the Hawks went a little bit more small, but same with the Bucks, right? Brook Lopez got benched there in the second half. Like Okongo barely played, only played 3 minutes. Now, I do think if Brook Lopez doesn't get benched, that maybe Okongo would have played more. But yeah, the Hawks went to a good amount of Solomon Hill. So he played 20 minutes. Obviously, he's more out there for his defense. But if we're going to get 20 minutes again from Solomon Hill, sure, you can make the argument for him at 1K. Now, do we get 20 minutes again from him, though? I'm not convinced about that. So, obviously, a little bit of risk there. But, yeah, I think if I'm going to take a shot on one of the 1K guys, I would rather go Hill now based on what we saw last game. Now, like I said, things could change. The Bucks go big again. Maybe Okongwu gets his normal 10 minutes off the bench or so. So it kind of depends on the game flow, but let's move on to the Milwaukee Bucks. And at the top, Giannis Antetokounmpo, 12.4K. Just have a hard time fading him, right? It's just super high floor and high ceiling. Again, anything can happen. So as I always say, if you do fade Giannis, if you're going the super risky route, you lock in Middleton and Jrue, because the only way Giannis fails is maybe some early foul trouble, or he's just having the worst shooting game of his career, and then Middleton and Jrue take over. But it is really hard to fade Giannis in the showdown slate. He's going to be the definitely optimal play in the captain spot because that combination of the floor and ceiling. Now with Middleton and Jrue Holiday, I mean, are they just going to take turns on who does good in the series? Right? It was Jrue Holiday against the Heat. He went off, and then he had a terrible series against the Nets, whereas Middleton kind of took over against the Nets and had the big games. And now back to Jrue Holiday having the big game, game one here against the Hawks. So it's like, what is going on here, right? They're literally just taking turns on who does well in the series. So if the path continues, then that means Jrue Holiday is going to be the better play. Now, it's kind of a joke, but not really, but kind of, right? So Middleton at 10-2, obviously had a terrible shooting game last game, 6 of 23. But previous games, 55, 70, 41, 44. The upset is there. I don't think he shoots 6 of 23 again. And what I think happens is I think Middleton's going to come in at lower ownership based on the last game. And, Jrue Holiday is cheaper, so he is probably a little bit easier to get into Middleton. But that makes, again, ownership should be lower on Middleton, right? I think most people are going to play Giannis. I don't think a ton of people are going to go Giannis Middleton based on the last game for Middleton. So, obviously, he's still going to be owned. It's a showdown slate. But I think he'll be lower owned than he should be, just based on that bad shooting game. So I still have some interest in Middleton. Again, I think ownership will be a little bit lower than it should. And Jrue Holiday at 9-4, obviously went off last game, went for 61 fantasy points. He will probably be more popular than Middleton. Point per dollar, yeah, maybe a small lean to Jrue since he's about $1,000 cheaper. But again, ownership will be higher on Jrue, I think, than Middleton. So you make the argument to go to Middleton over Jrue in a tournament setting. Brook Lopez is 6-2, so that was surprising. Like, we have really not seen him get benched so far in the playoffs. He only played 20 minutes, did not close. I don't think that happens again, but you never know, right? My guess is he gets his normal 25 to 30 minutes, but I do think he's a riskier option because that's the first time we really saw him get benched. Now, same thing I'll say about Middleton, right? So, obviously, Brook Lopez didn't play good. He got benched. It's going to really lower the ownership on him. There's still a realistic chance that he plays 35 minutes tomorrow, right? And he's a guy that if he plays 35 minutes, he can definitely be in the winning lineup. He's a decent rebounder, can knock down some threes, can block some shots. So, again, contrarian option, Brook Lopez, don't hate it. And now we get to the value for the Bucks. Oh, boy. So here we go. Pat Connaughton at 4-2. He's a guy that's been getting the most consistent minutes off the bench. 22, 32, 22, 23, and then 29 that last game. I think we get somewhere around 25 minutes for Connaughton. The floor, yeah, it's somewhat low, but he's had two bad games. It's been where he shot really bad, 0 of 5, 1 of 6. So I think Connaughton's fine for value, right? Minutes should be pretty secure. So yeah, definitely in play. PJ Tucker, also pretty safe for minutes, perspective, right? 34, 38, 35 minutes the last 3 games. Now with PJ Tucker, you got to know the floor is low, but he's cheap. So, yes, I have interest in Tucker. Again, you're never getting excited about playing him, but he's gone for double-digit fantasy points for the last 5 games. And again, you don't need a ton from Tucker at this price to pay off that salary. So, I do have some interest in Tucker. I think he's a safer value play on the showdown slate. And then Bobby Portis. So, I mentioned that I was playing him last slate. I was rolling the dice. I was like, I do think he gets back in the rotation, but I wasn't 100% sure. He did play. He played 15 minutes, and he smashed. He went for 22 fantasy points. The one thing I will say is he did not play well in the defensive end, right? That shimmy, or Trey did that shimmy. Bobby Portis was like standing in the paint, like not even playing any defense. So is there a chance he gets a DNP this game? I think it's possible. If I had to guess, I would say he plays again because the offensive boost off the bench. But like I said, that his defense is where his minutes could be limited. So Portis, still a risk, but if he plays 15 minutes again, he's most likely going to have a pretty solid game at this price, right? 3K, again, doesn't need a ton to do to pay off that salary. A good point per minute guy, a good rebounder, can block some shots. He's just a good fancy point per minute guy. So I do have interest. I do like Bobby Portis a good amount. I think there is still a chance, though, that maybe the Mets get limited or possibly even a DNP. And then Bryn Forbes at 2-4. Minutes have been trending down in him. Can you take a shot at him in large field stuff? Yeah. Again, as I always said, Bryn Forbes, if he comes out the bench and nails 2 or 3 threes, they're going to leave him in there. They'll probably extend his minutes. So there is a way where Bryn Forbes is in the winning lineup. It's just he has to come in and knock down some threes. If he doesn't, he's probably going to play 12 minutes, 10, 12 minutes. And that's really it. Jeff Teague surprisingly did play a little bit. He played 6 minutes, but yeah, I don't really want to go there at the flat min price. So that is going to do it for the video today, guys. If you have been enjoying the content so far, I would really appreciate it if you'd hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and hit the notification bell so you know when I upload videos and you know when I go live. And planning to go live tomorrow. I'll let you guys know, though, with confirmation on Twitter tomorrow to confirm it. But yeah, thanks again. Have a great night, and I will see you all tomorrow.